Hello, welcome to episode 8 of Cover to Cover, the series where I go on the search to find the best independent bookshop in the UK. If you are a fan of Alice in Wonderland or just books in general, I feel like you're going to enjoy where I'm going for today's episode. It is the Madhatter Bookshop in Burford. This bookshop looks really beautiful and quaint and looks like it has a really personal touch to it. There's a really nice paragraph on this bookshop's website that I just want to read you directly because I feel like I'm going to paraphrase it badly, so I'm just going to read this. We will have stock of the latest releases, but more than that, we are here to help you find books that may otherwise lay undiscovered by an algorithm. We are real people and know our books and can offer insight and guidance to help you source what you really need, and maybe the occasional book you don't need but you will really love. I just think that's so nice. Doesn't that just sound lovely? I cannot wait. The pictures online look really cool. They've led into the hat theme, so I'm really looking forward to seeing it. As you probably know by now, this series is sponsored by National Book Tokens, and National Book Tokens can be spent in bookshops across the UK and Ireland from WH Smith to WATERSTONES. They can also be spent in hundreds of indies across the country as well. This month, National Book Tokens have sent me a WATERSTONES gift card to fuel my book buying addiction. Money is automatically added to the WATERSTONES gift card monthly, so it's perfect for a book buying budget or for a present that lasts a little longer. And just like National Book Tokens gift cards, you can use this in bookshops across the UK, including the Madhatter Bookshop. As per usual, I will be rating this bookshop out of a possible 25 points. This rating is just for fun. This is all about celebrating a love of independent bookshops, but there will be 20 main points that will be coming from the shop layout, the book selection, the bookseller recommendations, and the atmosphere, and a further 5 bonus points available depending on what I rate the book I buy there. For last episode of Cover to Cover, I ended up reading one of the bookseller's favourite books, which I think worked really well for me as a recommendation. It just clicked and it pulled me out of my reading comfort zone a little, so I might ask the bookseller today the same question. It was one of their favourite books of this year that I read for the last episode, so I might ask that question and see what I get thrown at me for the recommendation. I'm not sure, but I'm excited to visit. I love the name. I'm really hoping there's a couple of Alice in Wonderland references. Let's go to the Madhatter Bookshop. I'm back from Burford and the Madhatter Bookshop. I've never been to Burford before, but it was a really lovely town. Would definitely go back and would definitely go back to Madhatter Bookshop. This was such a beautiful space. It felt like such a quirky and fun way to lay out a bookshop, and you could tell there was so much heart and so many personal touches inside. I was chatting to Kim, who is the owner, and Kim was fantastic. I had a great time chatting about books and just generally chatting about the shop itself and the festival that Kim set up in Burford itself, the book festival. I think it's going to be its 3rd year this year, I think, which is really exciting, but just generally everything. It was a great time. I bought books. Look at this cute tote that I got as well. Kim included this with the books that I bought. I'm so excited to show what I got. Let me tell you first though about the ratings for the bookshop. So it is no surprise that this is going to score pretty highly. The shop layout, so this is all on one floor, and it basically is 2 different rooms. The first room is the one that you walk into, and that is more of the children's to YA books, and that has got a really lovely little seated area wrapped around, and a little area with lots of fun hats and little bookish bits as well, little bits of merch and other bits other than just books. And I always love it when bookshops have this because it just always feels so personal to each bookshop as well. There was lots of bits of art dotted around this bookshop for sale as well. And then the second room was the non-fiction and the adult fiction and a couple of new adult books as well. There was categories in this section as well. There was LGBTQIA+ books, there was fantasy books, there was crime and thrillery books. There were so many great books. It looped around itself in a really nice way as well. It had such a nice vibe to it. The layout just worked really well, I think, and it felt like you could get lost in it. Even though it was a smaller building, it still felt like somewhere you could get lost. So it gets a 5 out of 5 for shop layout. For book selection, there was a load of children's books to pick from, a load of YA and teen books, and then the adult section, as I said, was kind of split. There was like non-fiction on one side and then adult fiction on the other side. I really like the way it was divvied up in 2 sections, and in that sense I think that it had a great diverse selection of books, and there was lots of books there that I hadn't seen anywhere else, which I think is one of the biggest perks for indie bookshops. So I think it had a great book selection. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 rather than a 5 out of 5 because there were a couple of books that we were chatting about that weren't there, and also just generally because it is a smaller bookshop, it doesn't have the widest across all the different age groups, but it still did have a really, really good book selection. So it's 4 out of 5 for book selection. Sorry, this lighting is going really bad. I thought this would be a good place to sit. Maybe not. Atmosphere was just top tier. The adult section had this beautifully atmospheric music, just instrumental going quietly in the background, and it felt like I was walking into an ASMR room. It was cozy vibes with dark wood colours and just generally everything I wanted in that adult section. The YA and the kids section was really great as well. I loved that section. That felt very playful. It felt like it was a great contrast of having this really playful interactive area with these hats and this great stuff coming from the ceiling, and then the adult section had these beautiful big books of art. It had this gorgeous globe, it had this huge table in the middle with everything displayed. There was such a beautiful contrast between the two that worked so well, and it just created such a nice atmosphere, and it was so calming. I was in there for like a good hour and a half, and it wasn't a massive bookshop, but I just felt like I wanted to just stay. There were 2 different seated areas. There was the corner area in the children's section, and then there was a chaise longue in the adult section, and I think that just added to the atmosphere that it had a relaxed, chilled vibe, and it was there to welcome you in and give you the time to browse the books. So it's got a 5 out of 5 for atmosphere. Bookseller recommendations. I chatted with Kim for ages. We chatted about all sorts of books. Kim gave me so many recommendations. One of them is one I'm actually reading in a couple of weeks' time anyway, which I'm really excited about. So to have that reiterated as a recommendation is only a good thing. So we chatted for ages. I got loads of great recommendations. Obviously, I bought a book to read for this vlog, and more than one book, which I'll show you in a minute, based on those recommendations. So I would give the bookseller recommendations a 5 out of 5 as well. This lighting, hang on. Can I do anything about this? Has that made it any better? Probably not. Anyway, so far it's on a 19 out of 20, which is a pretty damn top score. It was just such a lovely bookshop. I really loved it. If you have got any opportunity to go to Burford and check out the Madhatter Bookshop, do it, because I loved it. Let's go through what I got. I actually managed to be fairly restrained in this bookshop, kind of. I got a bit of a curveball book for one of my books. I only got 3 books, and one of them, yeah, definitely a curveball. So the 2 that aren't curveballs, we'll start with those ones. So the first one is called Going Zero by Anthony McCartan. The cover of this one grabbed me, and the tagline says 2 hours to vanish, 1 chance to escape. One of the reviews on the back of this says compares it to Ready Player One and Lost. The Ready Player One thing intrigues me a lot, so I'll read you the blurb. Look, there's a little bookmark inside as well, and it says about the Burford Literary Festival. 2 hours to vanish, 10 people who have been carefully selected to beta test a groundbreaking piece of spyware. Pioneered by tech wonder kid Cy Baxter, fusion can track anyone wherever they are on Earth. But does it work? One chance to escape. Each participant is given 2 hours to go zero, to go off-grid and disappear, and then 30 days to elude the highly sophisticated capture teams sent to find them. Any zero that beats Fusion will receive $3 million in cash. If Cy's system prevails, he wins a $90 billion contract with the CIA to develop Fusion and revolutionize surveillance forever. Zero alternatives. For contestant Caitlin Day, the stakes are far higher than money, and her reasons for entering the test even more personal than Cy could ever have imagined. Caitlin needs to win to get what she wants, and Cy will stop at nothing to realise his ambitions. They have no choice but to finish the game, and when the timer hits zero, there will only be one winner. This sounds like it's a bit Black Mirror-esque, and that has me very excited. So this is book one that I picked up. Book two is The Women Could Fly. This is by Megan Giddings. This is the one that I'm going to be reading for this vlog, and the one that Kim recommended to me. Josephine Thomas has heard every conceivable theory about her mother's disappearance, that she was kidnapped, murdered, that she took on a new identity to start a new family, that she was a witch. This is the most worrying charge, because in a world where witches are real, peculiar behaviour raises suspicion, and a woman, especially a black woman, can find herself on trial for witchcraft. Now Jo's future is in doubt. The state mandates that all women marry by the age of 30 or forfeit their autonomy by registering to be monitored. At 28, Jo is ambivalent about marriage, feeling she has never understood her mother more. So when offered the opportunity to honour one last request from her mother's will, Jo leaves her regular life to feel connected to her one last time. This sounds so good. It sounds like it's going to make me very mad. I love the dystopian-esque approach to it. I love the fact that it's got the witchcraft element in there as well. I think it sounds really good. So this is what I'm going to be reading for this vlog. And then the other book I got, The Slight Curveball. So I saw this on display and I had to get it because it's absolutely stunning. It's a Botanicum poster book with 28 posters inside. And it's from Kew Gardens. And it's just absolutely stunning. I don't know how well the lighting's gonna let me show you this, but I think that this is absolutely beautiful. So you can basically pull out these posters and put them around your home. I love having art around my home. I love the art style in these. I would love to try and use them for drawing inspiration as well. I just think this is absolutely stunning. So I picked this up as well. See, bit of a curveball. So this is my rather random book haul from today, but I think it makes sense given that this was called the Madhatter Bookshop. You've got to kind of go a bit Wonderland-esque, which I feel like this gives that vibe. And also, can we just appreciate the tote again, please, because I love it. Also, there were nods to Alice in Wonderland throughout this bookshop, and I loved that. There was some really beautiful Alice in Wonderland art, and I did nearly get some of that art, but I decided just to go with this instead. But there were some really beautiful bits of art and just lovely little nods. Just generally such a nice bookshop, such a nice bookshop. So I'm really excited to get reading this one. I will of course let you know my feelings when I have finished it and give you the overall rating for the Madhatter Bookshop, but at the moment it sits on 19 out of 20. Okay, I have finished this book, The Women Could Fly by Megan Giddings. This was fantastic. This was so much more than I expected it to be for some reason. The narration of this is so raw and just brilliantly done. This is following our main character who lives in a society where when you hit 28 you have to go for regular check-ins if you are unmarried. You get certain privileges taken away from you, or just certain normal things in life taken away from you when you hit 30 if you are still unmarried. The rage I felt throughout this book was strong. The treatment of women in this book, especially our main character as a black woman in this book, is just it just makes you so mad. And just the general acceptance in this society, this is just how things go, and that women can be witches and this is dangerous and there is no question about that, and it's just these men in charge just throwing around all these accusations and throwing around all these different rules that they've made up just to make themselves feel safe. At the heart of this story, on top of all of that, is our main character trying to find out more about her mum, who went missing and was presumed dead many years ago, and she's trying to get to the bottom of this because her mum has left her quite a lot of money in her will, and to get this money she needs to go to this specific location and have a photo taken to prove that she was there. So there's this whole story going on as well, and our main character's relationship and connection with her mum, and at the same time her trying to work out what it is that she wants from her life and the direction that she is going to take her life in, and what freedom means to her and how she gets that freedom as well. And it just was so incredibly powerful. I can't go into certain details that I would like to talk about because it would be massive spoilers, but the rage I felt, as I said, with this book and the incredible feelings going through reading this was intense. It's the kind of book that just makes you rage at all the silly rules in this book that have been put in place to keep the women in their place and not having the lives that they fully deserve to have and the freedom that they fully deserve to have. And on top of that, our main character experiencing this as a black woman and how that changes her experiences. There's also conversations around sexuality in this society and how that affects things, because basically the point is that they want all women to be controlled by men and to marry men. So there's conversations there, and the homophobia that surrounds that and the misogyny around all of this. I always get torn with how to talk about books that make me feel really mad, because saying I enjoyed it doesn't feel like the right word, but I think you get what I mean. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars, which means the Madhatter Bookshop is now sat at 23.5 out of 25 total points. I had a great time visiting the Madhatter Bookshop, just such a fabulous bookshop. I would definitely go back. The recommendations clearly on point. Fantastic book. Thank you so much to the Madhatter Bookshop for having me, and thank you so much National Book Tokens for sponsoring this video. I will see you in the next one.